Hi everyone, Mark here from AmericanAeration.com, and in this video I want to go over real quickly how you can estimate for yourself how much airline length you may need to complete an aeration system set up in your pond. The fact is we do a lot of aerial mappings for people with all sizes of ponds. Usually it's larger bodies of water, multi-acre ponds and lakes, but we're happy to do some type of mapping for just about anybody. But for very straightforward situations where only one or maybe two diffusers are used at the most, it can be really useful to know how much airline you're going to need. And there's an online service called Google Earth which makes this really easy to estimate just off your computer. You don't need to do anything fancy, and it's not hard to use. And so I wanted to show you a really down and dirty simple way to figure this amount of airline out. And we do use Google Earth for all of our mapping services because it's so handy, but this is just a simple way to use it in a very straightforward layout. So if you type into search Google Earth, you'll see the link come up right at the top, and we'll click on that. And once the software loads, you will see one of the ponds that I worked with previously. I'm going to keep the address private for the landowner, but for your own case, you will put in your address in this search box up here. Coordinates also work, and it will zoom in from above on your location and give you an aerial view of your pond. So what we want to do here is, first of all, consider where your power source is. This is likely going to be where your pump and cabinet will go, and that's your starting point in laying out any aeration system. So for the sake of discussion, let's say that our power source is on or near this structure here. So that's my starting point. I'm going to go up to the upper menu and I'm going to click on the measuring stick. And you'll see a box come up over here where it says measure, and all I have to do is pick my starting point, beginning there. And in this case, because of the pond owner giving us his depth measurements, we can calculate surface area with Google Earth. We can figure out the volume of the pond, run some calculations, and determine how many diffusers it will take to turn the pond over adequately on a regular basis, and that's how we would fit an aerator to the pond. In this case, he needs 2 diffusers in this pond. So we'll start at the power pump location, and all we do is bring our cursor out to about 1/3 of the way in the middle length, and or in the middle width, and then we'll put a marker there. Click on that and it will show you a measurement, 84 feet. You can go to 85 feet, no problem. It doesn't have to be that specific, but you'll notice that the length is also included over here. And if you come to Google Earth the first time around, you may not see the designation in feet. It could be in meters or some other measurement. You can click this arrow, this down arrow, and it will allow you to choose the measurement that you want to use. And typically we will always use feet on these layouts. So diffuser number 1 we'll call 85 feet. Now I want you to keep in mind that we're dealing with some depth here too. And if you're dealing with any kind of substantial depth, 8-10 feet or greater, you want to allocate a little bit of length of airline to account for that drop. And so we would suggest somewhere between 5 and 10% overage. Give yourself a little buffer on the high side if you're estimating this number, and account for some of that depth to eat up some of the distance. From the aerial view, we're just working from A to B, but there is a depth involved too. So you'll want to account for that. Now for the second run, simple. I just click and close this box. I come over to the measuring stick again and I begin my number 2 diffuser estimation. I'm going to start at my pump and power location, and I'll go out about 1/3 of the way in from the bottom, again along the middle line, and I'll click that, and I've got 165 feet. So Basically, these two positions, or somewhere in that general area, I'm going to need about 85 and 165 feet. Now, the tubing lengths typically will run in 100-foot sections or 100-foot rolls. You can get connector kits, which you can splice some distance off one roll and add it to another, connect as many rolls as you need to get where you need to go. And typically on these numbers, anything under a couple hundred feet, we can use and stay with 3/8 usually with most of our systems. Brands can vary depending on what they like to use, but most will use 3/8 for these shorter runs. For others, as I get closer to 300 feet and beyond, I might start to look at 5/8 inch line. This is inside diameter weighted airline, by the way, and certainly as you increase the depth, as you start to push 15, 20, 25 feet, I start to look at using the larger diameter airline almost no matter what my tubing run will be. This is all intended to keep back pressure down on the pump to a reasonable level. You don't want to put too much pressure on the pump, and it just helps it run more efficiently and stay cooler. So that's a few tips on how you can estimate and figure out what airline amount you'll need to lay out a very simple aeration system. Use Google Earth to do this. It makes it quick and easy, and it's very simple to do, as you can see. As always, if you have additional questions about your pond or pond aeration, feel free to reach out to me at AmericanAeration.com. I'm happy to help. Hope you have a great day wherever you are.